Okay, so this is about user-defined functions. In this session, we particularly discuss about user-defined functions. The first one is simple function. We pass a parameter and it prints that parameter within the function. Okay, the next one is we have defined a variable str digits, which is nothing but list in which we have 10 different strings starting from 0 to 9. So total 10 strings we defined. 0, 1, 2, 3 up to 9. So when you go for 0 index of str digits, you get 0. If you go for 1 index, you get 1. If you go for 2 index, we get 2. So like this is a list we created. So using index, we can retrieve one value from the given list. So this I am going to use in the num2 words function. In the num2 words function, we are using it, using which we exactly what we get here, we get the number in words. So this is a recursive call. The same function is getting called itself if you look at num2 words. So regarding this, we discussed in earlier session how recursion works. So in the same way, what we have done, we defined a function num2 words. So as long as num is greater than 9, because if it is greater than 9, it is 2 digits. So as long as it is more than 2 digits, we need to call the function repeatedly. But whenever it is single digit, straight away that we can print. Because if it's 9, we can print 9. If it is 7, we can print 7. Like this, we have defined here a global variable str digits. That variable we are using in the given function. Inside this function, we are using. So this is what it's a global variable. But when you look at the reverse string. So in that I defined a variable. It is rev sent, which is nothing but a local variable, which is part of the string. Function reverse string. Only in that function it's available. Whereas str digits is available anywhere in any function. This is what is a global variable, whereas rev set is what here, it's a local variable. I can say this as a local variable, global variable. And this is and when it comes to this one, this is here a local variable. As long as the function is getting executed at the time this is available. So but once we quit from the function, the str words will not be available. Okay, the function also is not going to be existing there. It will be removed from the stack. So therefore here num2 words is a function. Okay, inside this we defined a variable called str words, whereas str digits is a global variable, str words is a local variable. Okay, similarly we saw one more function. This is for swapping the two numbers. Suppose I give 10 and 20, so that's going to be swapping 20 and 10. That means if it is x and y, x is 10, y is 20, if you give, it is going to change like x equal to 20 and y equal to 10. When you give x equal to 10 and y equal to 20, it swaps x equal to 20 and y equal to 10. So it's going to interchange the values using the swap function. Okay, we are passing just two values, two parameters, and it's going to be doing like that. But here we have one problem with that. The problem is it is going to be changing only inside this. So outside the function scope, it will not be getting changed. I'll show you that in the program. Here, first of all, I import functions. Import, write this as functions. So next thing here, I write x is 10, then y 20 I put. print before swapping x equal to, write %d, also write here y equal to %d. Then here I put percent in the brackets. I can pass x comma y. I can pass a tuple. Like this, I am passing the tuple x comma y. Now after this what I do, I can go with the functions dot. I write this as swap, then say x comma y here. Now again I go to this, try to print this again. What result we get? Let us see. After swapping this is. Sorry, after swapping we have written, but when you see the functions.py, inside this we are printing it. Only inside this we are printing. Before swapping and after swapping, inside the function we are printing. So therefore it prints here. I put in swap function. Here also same thing, in swap function. That means this is happening only inside the swap function. Now let us execute this. Let me come to this one here, save as, write this as swap values. So this is a program name, swap values. Then just go to command prompt, change into Python CSV. Then inside this, the function name is swap values. I just put here Python swap values. .py, I specify. It says before swapping x is 10, y is 20. In swap function, before swapping the value of a is 10 and b is 20, it says. In swap function, after swapping the value of a 20 and b 10. But original values, they are not changing. X is 10, y is 10. Though you swap, the value is not getting changed. If you look at this, whatever you have, the same value is getting printed here. That means the primitive data, what you pass, is getting passed like a value. So whenever you pass value, here what happens? It is just copy. This value cannot be, it's not muted. It is immutable type of data. When you send to function, primitive data is going to be immutable type. So just we are passing here like immutable data. That means data will not be changed. So what happens exactly when you create a function like that? Here local variables are getting created. A and B are nothing but local variables. So into A we are passing value 10, into B we are passing value 10. Therefore it's processing here. After that, original variables are not changing. So because of that, what is happening? Because of that, the value in A and B are not getting changed. Okay, now suppose if we redefine this function in the other way, we don't print anything there, just we redefine this swap by ref. We call something like that, swap by, or else I call this as swap by ref, nothing like ref actually. So swap by ref we put, then here a comma b we are saying. Okay, so we call this as actually a comma b, but we have to use a concept called global variables in this. We must use global variable concept. We are passing here a and b, that is fine. Okay, it's printing there. At last, what we have to do is write global. What is the variable we used in that? That we need to take into consideration here. So swap values, but this will not work. Reason, it is a function. Okay, so inside the function, we have therefore try to put like this global in this. Right here, this one as global. This may work or not. So global X, then we put this as global Y. Global X, global Y we write. Then here, what happens? Let us see in that. But again, they are going to be like here in the place of global A only I put here, global A, then this is global B I put. Going to do like that. Or else it can be A, B only. This will be A and B. But while passing this, I can use here global X and this I call as global Y. Like this, I'm going to call this. Now when we run this, how this works? So invalid syntax it says. Okay. So we cannot use here global keyword. Here also we cannot use. In the functions itself, we try to take. Again, put here global AB equal to A plus B and global A equal to B minus A, we write. We declare like that. Then again try to, so this is function swap, we have global in that. It is not actually swap by ref, we need to put something I did not put correct. Swap by ref we put. Okay. So while passing itself, import functions, invalid syntax it says. Fine. So in such cases,
Do we need to put
yes,
where?
no. Where we should not put, this is fine here, global, and this also correct here. But in the same function, it will be working inside, outside that, making that is difficult. Okay, so what I do here, whatever swap by ref I have, I can put in the same program. This is a generic program. In the generic program, you cannot put, but we need to write this as a control X, and inside this, I try to write it. So swap by ref we take and we don't pass any parameters here. Okay. Now in this, it is X comma Y we say. Here I declare global X, global Y. So these two are the variables we are making. We are making them as global. Now here or else, okay, so this will be y equal to x plus y. Just like see, it's not simple actually. Similarly, what I do, this I have to write as x equal to y minus x. Then here I'm going to comment it. The next thing is here x equal to y minus x we kept. Then here next step is y equal to y minus x. This can be commented. Okay, we don't print anything here. Just remove this here. Okay, this we now we need to call x comma y. We are going to pass in this. Now whenever we come here, there's some problem in this. We should not call anything like swap by ref. Just let us execute this. Again it says global y when we say
Global X, global Y.
global x and global y when we say, it's giving invalid syntax. Okay. Either only once we have to use global x comma y. Mhm. So where in which call this is exactly? Import functions. B equal to a plus b we have written, so indentation is wrong something. B equal to a plus b we have written. So this is fine, but when we come to this one here the problem is
Yeah, 24th.
26 line number, no, not 26, yes,
24th. B is equal
in
to
25 we have problem. So nothing to do with that. Swap by ref is not defined, it says here x comma y in swap values. Swap by ref when we take in the swap values.py file, no x and y, just we specify there. Okay, otherwise put x comma y here. Then here also we should pass, here also there should be x comma y, like this we put. Now in this, so it can't be both. So without parameters we need to define this. And here also we don't use any parameter, just we call them. What is defined here? Def swap by ref we have. This is a function we have defined here. So function name we defined here, we are calling it just how it says, it's not defined. Even inside this probably we have same thing. Because of that we don't have anything there. When you go with this, we have written def swap by ref. It's available, very much available. Okay, okay. So this time it is changing using global keyword. Before swapping, x is 10, y is 20, and after swapping, x is 20 and y is
X
10.
is 20.
So this is, it doesn't accept forward referencing. What exactly we are doing? We are calling the method first, then we are defining it later. So that's why what it says, swap by ref is not defined, it was saying there.
Oh,
But normally this kind of function is not used because immutable types, primitive types are immutable. Normally the C use these is call by value, call by reference we say. But in the Python, we don't have such mechanism. So by default, whatever primitive data you have, so that is by value. And whenever you pass any mutable types like list, okay, dictionary, they can be changed and they are called as mutable. So whenever you
okay.
pass the list or similarly the stack, so such things, set, when you call them, so that is nothing but it is mutable, whereas primitive data is not mutable, including string that is not muted. So therefore, here we don't have anything specifically like call by value and call by reference, but using global keyword that you can achieve. You can achieve that with the help of the global keyword. Now, but see, here you cannot pass parameter and you cannot declare it as global. So this is one
Yes.
deficiency we have. Unlike C, C++, or Java, C Sharp, we don't have that facility here in this. So this is what exactly, whenever you pass any primitive data, it is immutable, whereas when you pass object type of data, it is nothing but mutable. So only mutable types can be swapped, not immutable types.
Okay.
So this is regarding some swap we have written, but otherwise our focus was very much on reversing string. Then similarly, num towards function. One more is simply swap. Inside this, what is happening, and other one factorial we did. Next thing is here passing variable number of arguments. Passing actually variable number of arguments. Variable number of arguments. Suppose you have a sum. To the sum function, there can be say 2 arguments, 3 arguments, 4 arguments, 5, we don't know how many arguments they are. So such things are called as actually variable number of arguments. Okay, so the function may use n number of arguments. Some means how exactly you don't know how many arguments you are going to pass. Need not be always 2. Sometimes it can be 3, sometimes 4, sometimes 5, sometimes 6. So like that you can pass n number of variables. That is called as a function with variable number of arguments or arbitrary number of arguments. Okay, you can pass only one argument, you can pass 2 arguments, you can pass 3 arguments, you can pass n number of arguments depending on the requirement. So such concept is called as passing here the arguments like variables. Okay, n number of parameters you can pass, but it's not sure always you pass only 10 or only 5 or only 2 or only 1. So there is no such guarantee, but dynamically depending on the requirement, you can pass n number of arguments. So that is called as here a function with variable number of arguments, or we can say arbitrary number of arguments. It is not like fixed. Earlier you saw the swap function, you have only 2 parameters.
What is arbitrary number of
Arbitrary
arguments?
means it's not exactly defined. It can be changing. It can be variable length. Sometimes 2, sometimes 3, sometimes 4. So we don't know that exactly. Okay.
Okay.
So here in such cases, suppose you have sum, as I told, sum can be any 3 numbers or 4 numbers or 5 numbers. We cannot write separate functions for them. I mean, sum for 2 numbers, sum for 3 numbers, sum for 4 numbers. If you write, it's inefficient code. Okay. But you don't know how many numbers you are going to pass. Sometimes you may have only 2 numbers, sometimes you may have 3 numbers, sometimes you have 4 numbers. So depending on the requirement, you can pass n number of arguments. So that is what exactly variable number of arguments we say. And that is called as arbitrary number of arguments or arbitrary arguments we say. So now in this, I may call n number of arguments. Now see this, I'm going to call here in this, in the swap by values.py function. Here I try to write that. Functions dot, I write it. What is the name I had in this? It is functions var args. I just pass only strings in that. I'm going to print how many strings I give, that many I'm going to be here printing. Okay. Now here I can pass like 1, then I can pass here 2, then I can pass 3, then I can pass here A, I can pass B. So how many I'm passing here now? 5 arguments. When we run this, it will print 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, AB. Okay, it's going to print that 1, 2, 3, AB. Once again, let me run this. What is printing there? 1, 2, 3, AB. Because it has there 5 parameters. Now I omit few parameters from that. I remove 3. So how many it has to print for us now? Only 4 has to be printed. So it's going to print only 4 this time because we have only 4 arguments.
4
So
arguments.
this is called as here arbitrary number of arguments. We don't know exactly how many we are going to pass. Now the same we try to use with the sum. We want to find out sum of a arbitrary. Okay, we define like this here another function. We go with the def. Okay, find sum. Okay, find sum. We say then here in this sum equal to we put 0. Okay, then here in this what I do, I go with the try catch block. What is the necessity of try catch block? There can be alphabets sometimes. We have even alphabets in the try block. Now in this sum equal to, try to write it as sum plus arg. I write this as sum equal to sum plus arg. Then here except. So in such cases what should happen? The loop should continue. So I put this as continue here. Okay, then what I write is at the end I have to return this. This is part of for loop. Okay, for arg in args, it is trying to add them. At the end, it has to return that. Return, then I write sum. Okay, so this is going to be taking only numbers from that. It is going to add to sum. It's going to return that particular thing. Whenever you have a string, so the string will not be here added. That is going to be skipped. So in such cases, you can write here. You can write like print %s is not a number. Like this you can put, then here put a % symbol, then write arg. Okay, so whatever arg we give, that is not a number, it prints, and it's going to just continue with that. Now here it's not find num, find sum. We say like this. Now take this as we call this function here. Instead of calling this 1 2 3 4, we call this as yes, right, functions dot, what is the method name we have? Find sum. Find sum, then we specify here 10, then a, then we go with the 20. Okay, then we go with the 45, then say 12, then comma in double quotes gh. Okay, like this, then we put some 23. Now what it should print for us? 30, then 75, 75, then 87, and 110. It has to print for us. The result must be 110 for us. So what it prints, let us see that. Are we printing that value? We are not printing. A is not a number, GH is not a number, it's saying we haven't written anything to print. Just we are calling that function, but we haven't returned anything. Here write sum equal to, we put like this. Then print the sum is or equal to. So this, whether we don't know whether it is in such cases, what we do is we can go with this, then write sum. Sometimes there can be, say, fractional numbers also in that. Now sum equal to, it says, then try to now execute this piece. It says 110. A is not a number, GH is not a number, because in these things we have a string inside this. A is a string, GH is a string, but only it has to add the numbers. It has taken 10, 20, 45, 12, and 23. So it's printing them. Otherwise, what it says, if it's not a number, it gives a message like it's not a number. Like this, it's printing here whenever is exception. It is trying to add here. So at that time, it can't add. It's nothing but runtime error. So therefore, where it comes to this part. Prints this here, then again continues. That means it goes to beginning of loop again. It picks the next argument. That way, it's going to be continuing. Okay, so this is what for arbitrary number of arguments. Sometimes what we do, we can even give here some other values. Okay, here this time what I do, 1.0 I put. Okay, similarly 1.25 also give here. Now see in this what happens. This must be 2.25. So this must be 112.25. We need to get the result when we add this one. It is saying here 112.25. GH and A are not actually numbers. So it is taking only numbers and printing. This is called as here variable number of arguments. Earlier there was no 1.0, 1.25. We have taken only 10, A, 20, 45, 12, GH and 23. But now we added here 1.0 and 1.5. So when we remove one, when we add it like this, it's calculating all of them. It is omitting just A and GH because they are not numbers. So such functions are called as here variable number of arguments. We can pass variable number of arguments to this function, and this is called as a function with arbitrary number of arguments. You can call this as a function with arbitrary number of arguments. Further, we have defined a function called find sum. So find sum is a function which contains here n number of arguments, which can take n number of arguments. Got this point, Swati? Swati, are you hearing me?
Yes.
Okay. You understood this point here?
Yes.
Okay. Now, similarly, we have another concept called okay. So we have here some another concept like see, there is one more video related to Excel sheets. You can see how to create Excel sheet from the Python. I added just.
Oh, okay.
Not this then. 1 minute. Not this one. Okay. Now when we come to here functions.py, this is what variable number of arguments. Sometimes what happens, you can pass arguments using keywords. Okay, you can pass certain keywords. With keywords also, they can be passed. See, whenever you want to pass a function with variable number of arguments, before the variable name, you need to put star. So this can contain, ARGS can contain multiple values in that. It's going to contain multiple values. Before that, you need to put a star. So it's nothing but a list, you can think. Okay, so this is something like a list. You can think star ARGS, when you put that becomes what? It is a parameter which can accept n number of arguments. Star ARGS is required in that. It need not be ARGS, you can have any other name, but before that name, you need to have star.
Okay.
You can say KW, just say AL argument list, something like that, ARG list, whatever you want to put, you can put there. Okay, but that is only identifier. But before that identifier, you should have star symbol. So in that case, it's going to be treated as a, I mean, it's going to be a list which can have multiple arguments in that.
Can you repeat that one, Sridhar?
See, ARGS is nothing but a variable name here. Okay. Before the variable name, if you have star, so this is nothing but it is a mechanism with which you can enter n number of arguments.
Okay.
Whenever you want to enter n number of arguments to the function, we need to define in that way. Star followed by, it can be any name. It can be ARGS, or it can be ARG list, or it can be words, whatever you want to put, it can be whatever you want to put, you can put there. It is identifier name. But before that, star is required.
Okay.
So that way you can do. Similarly, sometimes we can pass keyword arguments. In order to pass keyword arguments, you require star also there. Just see here, I have defined like this. Fun KW ARGS star ARGS. So function name is what here? Function keyword arguments. KW ARGS is nothing but keyword argument. So in this case here, what I have
keyword
done,
arguments?
Whenever you pass the arguments, you have a name, you have a value, something like that you pass. So here there is nothing like name, only values you are just passing. But now here what happens? You have a key and you have a value. That's why we call it as a keyword arguments.
Oh, okay.
So in the keyword arguments, you pass key and you pass the value. Okay, so I can tell you that how I have passed in this, something like this here. Functions dot fun KWARGS. A is 1, B is 2, C is 3, then D is 1.4. Like this I am passing here with the key. With key I am passing there.
Oh, okay. You have to mention it as, yes. A is equal to 1. Oh, okay.
A is key, B is key, C is key, D is key. Okay, but earlier we were not having any such case. If you look at the swap values.py, how we are passing, we are passing the values here. 10, 8, 20, 45. So that is called as a keyword argument.
Okay.
So keyword arguments you pass in this manner. It is in the functions.py. What I do, I have specified here def function kwarg star args. So from the args, it's going to pick one by one items. What it says exactly? For key, comma value in args.items. So it is picking both the values here. From the args items, it's picking key and value. Once for every iteration, first key and first value, second key and second value, third key and third value. Like that, as long as it is not coming to the list of items and it's going to be retrieving. We have a key and we have a value. We have number of items in this. In the earlier example, how many we had? Total 1, 2, 3 and 4. So 4 items were there. So when you say items, it's going to be giving you list of items total. So in the list of items, you have a key, you have a value, like that you have. It's nothing but a dictionary kind of thing, you can think. Okay, so therefore what happens in such cases? It's going to retrieve one by one from that. It's going to retrieve one by one the value. So how it is retrieving here? It is taking this as it is retrieving here the key and value. A is key and value is something like 1, something we have there. So like that, one by one, key is retrieved and value is retrieved, then they are printed here. For key comma value in args.items. So in the args.items, you have a value and you have a key. So therefore the two are retrieved. Key is retrieved and value is retrieved. That is going to print here the key as well as value. So like this, the function keyword arguments works. To the function you can pass here keyword arguments. In the case of keyword arguments, key is required, value is required. Like that you pass. Basically you pass actually dictionary to that. List of dictionary I can say. So star meaning is what here? It's keyword arguments. Whereas star is what actually? Simple argument. So when you put star, it's nothing but keyword arguments.
Keyword arguments. Yeah.
Okay, so keyword arguments is 1 and other thing is normal arguments is 1 star. See, all these questions actually before you enter into job, they ask you. But once you enter into job, they don't bother about all this.
Oh, okay.
Whenever they want to filter, at that time only they filter you. So once you join in the job, even if you can't understand, they can explain you well once you become part of the team. But before you become part of team, they trouble us with these kind of things. Remembering all these somewhat difficult. Okay, you have to work so much extensively, then only you can remember, and you should be using all these in your application. So there should be such necessity, in that case only you do it. Otherwise you cannot do, you cannot remember, because every subject these days is ocean. Even Python you take, it's too much, too heavy actually. You cannot remember each and everything, but in the interview they ask like that, do you know this? So we may not come across such concept. Reason, we never have encountered such problem, therefore we may not focus on that. Correct?
Yes.
So this can be one problem with the development. And particularly these days they are conducting tests actually. The tests are too much. Even experienced people, they cannot answer sometimes. Reason, they cannot think that much. They try to focus more and more operations, not on learning simply theory very much.
Okay.
Okay, so this is what here, a function with number of arguments. Another thing is a function with keyword arguments. They also can be n number of, again, need not be only 4 or 5. Here also you can pass n number of keys and n number of values.
Okay.
So when you go with the star star. Next thing is, suppose I want to create a function. In that there can be few parameters, but some parameters may be optional. Okay, or they may have default value. So in such case, what happens if you omit this message here? What will happen in such cases? It takes the default value. So we call this as a function with default value for argument. We have a name, then we have message equal to hi, we have written. So when you give name, what happens, and when you pass your own message, that gets printed. Otherwise, you have a name, then it says, with the name, given name, it says hi, like that it comes. Understood this here?
Yeah, can you please repeat again?
Suppose you have name is Swati. So what happens? Normally you don't pass this, you just pass only name here. Func default args, only Swati we pass. So in such case, what it's going to print? Swati hi, it says. Okay. So it says, but message comes first. Hi Swati, it gives, because message is actually in the first we are printing, the name we are printing. So therefore what it says, hi Swati, it says. Suppose you say here name is Swati and message equal to, you are passing your own kind of thing. So what do you pass in that case? Welcome you say. So it says welcome Swati, it says.
Welcome Swati. Okay. First it will first message, then it will print a name.
But if you don't pass this value here, if you don't pass this value, what happens? Automatically it takes the default value.
Okay.
So when you are calling function, you have to pass both the things. But what happens? Sometimes we may not pass message, we just pass only name. So in such case, what should be printed? It says
name only.
Yeah, hi Kiran, something like that. You are passing name only Kiran, you are not passing message. So what it says in that case, hi Kiran, it says. But when you pass name and message, that means you are passing Kiran and welcome. So what it prints in that case? Welcome Kiran, it says.
Okay.
Now this one you see in the reverse.py, what I do, I'm going to be passing such thing here. Now in this functions dot, what was that? The function name is, it is func with default tags. Take like this. Now inside this, I pass Kiran. So when I simply pass Kiran, what happens? It should print only hi Kiran.
Kiran. Hi
Okay.
Kiran. Yeah.
Now same thing, if I put here, okay. So you can see the difference now when you try to execute this. So this is exactly the function, this is Python, we say, then rev str.py, we call this. sorry, here functions I need to put, not just function, it has to be functions. Because of that, it's giving error. Mm,
Not enough arguments.
what parameter I'm passing in this? If I go with this, name comma message we pass here. So print percentage message comma name we say here. We are saying the message as well as, okay, name. Spelling is also correct. Is it correct spelling? MESSAGE. So it says, hi, how are you, Kiran?
How are you? Yeah.
So next thing, I just remove the comment in this. Earlier when I remove the comment, then again I try to run that. Hi, Kiran. In the first case, it's
Kiran.
hi,
Yeah.
Kiran, it's saying. In the second case, hi, how are you, Kiran? So when you don't pass anything, it just says hi, default value takes there. Okay, so if you look at the function here, if you don't pass any message there, it simply takes hi.
Hi. Yeah.
But whenever you put some other thing, it's going to be printing that. That means it's the default value we put here. Default value
Okay.
for argument. But when you pass here, it's not taking, it's taking actually this one. Hi, how are you? You are typing, you are passing the parameter there. So with that, it's going to print the result as, here in this you can see, hi, how are you, Kiran? So like this, it's printing here. This is called as here default arguments. So we created here a function with the default value. But one point we need to remember, default value, whatever arguments you have default value, they should be coming at the end always. They should not be in the beginning. They should be in the end of the argument list.
Okay.
Otherwise, they cannot be processed. Whatever form optional, whatever normal mandatory parameters you have, you need to first define them. At the end, you can go with the optional arguments.
Okay.
So if they don't exist, in that case, what happens? They can just be omitted. But in the beginning, if you put their keys, there is going to be confusion. So at the end of the argument list, we need to have the, say, the optional or default parameters. Here in this, we have name, message. Message is in the ending. Okay, you cannot have message in the beginning. Then in that case, you get error. Okay, so whatever normal parameters you pass, they must be coming first. Then whatever values you want to have as default values, they should be coming in the ending. In the end, you need to put. So this is what, it's a function we defined using the two parameters. First parameter is name, and second parameter is here what default value it takes. When you don't pass that value, it's going to take automatically the value high.
Okay.
So like this is going to be working.